so she had to cancel a meet for us on us twice. Oh, good morning. We're all scattered about. It's nice to see everyone. We are going to start. If you're not already standing, please stand. We're going to start with number 51, Ladies of the Season's Laughter. Do it.
Good morning. Welcome everyone to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane, where our mission is to join together to create a nourishing, liberal religious home and to champion justice, diversity, and environmental stewardship in our wider world. Or, as we say in short, to create community, find meaning, and work for justice. Great to have all of you here today. We begin, as always, by welcoming all that you come with, all of your uniqueness, your unique beliefs, your background, your lifestyle, your experiences, your differences, all that helps make you who you are is welcome here this morning. And this includes, of course, those who are in the room with us, whether you attend regularly or maybe just joining us for the first time. You're equally as welcome, and it includes the many of you who are streaming with us this morning as well. So thanks to one and all for being here. I have a couple of announcements. One, the community auction is kicking off today. This is where folks have donated lots of, services and items and skills and fun events, those sort of things for us to bid on so we can have some fun in the process of fundraising. So thanks to everybody who has generously and so creatively come up with items to put in the auction, and for those who've helped to organize it. You can go online and look at some of the items if you're somebody who streams with us. There are some virtual items, including I'm going to do some AI training, and I'm happy to do that in person or even online, sharing a screen if necessary. So be happy to do that. So check it out. There's also they're listed in the back there, and this year's different. It turns out rather than signing your name up on what's in the back, there's a little QR code, and you can scan it with your phone and go to the website and bid right online. So, or you can go onto the church website at www.uuspokane.org and do the same. So, thanks for that. Today, and we are also kicking it off with the Fall Harvest Potluck. So I hope you'll stay afterwards for a potluck lunch. I'll try not to be as long-winded as usual, so you can get to that as soon as possible, but it's probably not going to happen. Yeah, in all honesty. I brought these up because there's a couple of baskets in the back, and it's all produce right out of our gardens here on the property. Fall produce, so you're welcome to take some home with you. Get there for you. I'll leave these up here if you want a squash or a small pumpkin. You guys want a small pumpkin? Come get it. Come get it. You want the squash? Okay. So very good. Well, I take a picture. If you turn it into a jack-o'-lantern, I want to see it, okay? I mean, you never know what's going to be growing in a Unitarian garden. I wouldn't have expected it to be pumpkins, but nevertheless, there's plenty of them there, and some cucumbers and squash, and yeah, so great. Thank you to the gardeners for tending to the garden and letting it grow. All right. I think that's it. Yeah, that's all I've got. So why don't we take a few moments this morning to greet one another. I know you guys are ready to get to that potluck. I can tell by the energy in the room, but I've got to tell you, the music is going to be worth waiting for. Right, so the sermon, You could always watch it online afterwards if you weren't here, but the music, you want to be here in person. So, yes. So we are going to move forward with our service now by lighting our chalice, the symbol of our faith, the symbol of our unity and our solidarity, of our openness and our inclusion, of our community and our individual uniqueness. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world and a beacon of hope to those in need, and may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost, and cast a healthy shadow of doubt wherever it's been found.
The opening reflection today is by Joan Boroshenko, found in her book, Pocketful of Miracles, Meditations, Prayers, and Affirmations to Nurture Your Spirit Every Day of the Year. In spiritual maturity, we become able to hold the paradox of both and, rather than being bound to the rigidity of either or. While the intellect can at times become a trap, it is also a gift. Although meditation and prayer can play an important role in leading us to the wisdom of the heart, sometimes the intellect is the more skillful means to awakening. When the Dalai Lama was asked what the main method of fostering inner awareness was, he replied, "Introspection and reasoning is more efficient for this purpose than meditation and prayer."
Please stand. Join me for Spirit of Life, number 123. We'll sing through it twice. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me. Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
All right, we are now going to kindle our candles of care for those who are most on our hearts and minds this morning, and we'll begin with the candle as we have been for the people of Ukraine and that part of the world that are suffering from the terrible war there, and I hope that that situation doesn't get lost. In another terrible matter, of course, that's going on, and that's getting a lot of attention right now, and that is the so-called war in Israel against Hamas and the many people that are suffering in that region of the world as well. We also kindle a candle for church member Jacob Johns, who's continuing to recover from being shot while at a peaceful demonstration a few weeks ago. So I do want to also have a candle of celebration. Now, I learned something first service this morning. I've always felt bad because I can't sing the birthday song. I'm always off key, so I just don't even try. And I've learned from the experts that that's the whole point of the birthday song. Did you know this? I didn't know this. So anyway, I'm still not going to sing it, but you're going to have a chance to sing it because somebody in our congregation just on Thursday had a big birthday. Lynn Janician, who's sitting right back there. And again, you're not going to believe what a big birthday it was because you're thinking she's like turning 40, right? No. Not 30. Not even 50. 60th birthday on Thursday. Wow. Happy birthday. Yes, let's sing.
Want to do a key? We'll do a key anyway. Sing off key, but we have a key. Here we go. And happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Lynn. Happy birthday to you.
I found the key a couple of times. Only for you, Lynn, I would sing happy birthday. So, okay, let's, I don't know, from that we can move into a moment of silence on behalf of others that you might be thinking of. But let's do, because I know it's important for you to say some of the names out loud of those that are on your minds this morning. Those named aloud and those embraced in our silence and all those who are suffering in our world at this hour, we hold in our community with compassion. And we now gratefully give and receive this morning's offering, which helps sustain this community and our mission to the larger world.
Redeemer.
kids, it's time to come up for our story for all ages. All right, and you don't get to hear music like this at any old church, do you? That was pretty cool, wasn't it? Quite a treat for the children. Oh, we've decided to sit on the chairs today, huh? I like it. These are big kids today. They're like, I'm not doing the floor. I'm gonna sit on the chairs. All right, well, I have brought back a special friend today. It's been a while since we've seen you, Bun Bun. And I think the last time you visited, in fact, you had summer break had just begun. Is that right? But I'm sure you're back in school like all of these kids now. Okay, how's it going? Well, that's the kind of body language that tells me it's not going well. Do you want to tell me what's going on? Oh, okay. Bun Bun just told me that he's at a brand new school this year because the leaders of his force made some changes about where all the little animals should go, and Bun Bun is somewhere new now. Are there any friends from your old school at your new school? No. Okay, but surely you've made some new friends in the past few weeks. Oh, sorry you feel like you have no friends. That must feel lonely. I've felt lonely before, and it isn't much fun. Kids, what do you think Bun Bun could do to make some new friends at this new school? What do you think, Arthur?
He could try and make some, like he could introduce themselves to somebody else.
Just go up and say,
They could be friends.
just ask. I mean, there's a solution, right? That's a solution to your problem. Just ask somebody and you might fix it. What do you think, Max? But how? How? I think Meredith has an idea. Yeah, just invite yourself into a group of friends that's playing a game. Exactly. I see some of you have got your produce with you. You know, bunnies love carrots, so maybe Bun Bun, you could share a carrot with someone. Okay, maybe. Oh, just like that. Nom, 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 nom. Thank you, Max. So these are some great ideas, kids. And Bun Bun, I know you'll be able to make some friends at school this year. In fact, in the summer, didn't you make some friends at the playground? Okay. And do you still see them? Yeah, he says he still sees them every day on his way home from school. So there you go. You've got old friends to keep you company at the park while you work on making some new friends at school. The next time you feel like you have no friends, think about the friendships that you formed at the park. I'm excited to see you soon, Bun Bun, and learn about some of the new friendships you've made at school, thanks to the sage advice that the kids have shared with you this morning. We'll see you later.
This is a time in our service to move into contemplation and silence. Get comfortable. Relax into your breathing and go into that still place within. Consider these words adapted by the psychiatrist Piero Ferrucci from the Ancient Methods of Self-Inquiry. I have a body, but I'm not my body. I have feelings, but I am not my feelings. I have desires, but I am not my desires. I have a mind, but I am not my mind. Who is it then who has been watching your sensations, feelings, desires, and thoughts? Is it your own higher self? Now, meditate on this self, which is pure consciousness.
Applause for the sly generation without any cause. We spend all our time looking for something to do or to be. We make breakfasts and lunches of fear and self-doubt, and we had no idea to figure it out as we go through the motions of what Mom and Dad want to see. So I'm here in the sun, getting splashed by the tide, on a spot on the harbor where folks fought and died. And they probably felt something deep, or they tried. But me, I just figure I'm here, another tourist on the pier. TV and feel so bad watching people in floods losing all that they had, when the worst of our problems is not getting all we deserve. So we'll go and give blood just to feel human touch, and we had no idea we cared so damn much. Yet we'll drive ourselves mad wondering what God we're going to serve. So I'm here in the sun, getting splashed by the tide, on a spot on the harbor where folks fought and died. And they probably felt something deep, or they tried. But me, I just figure I'm here, another tourist on the pier. Dodging rapists and goons, and just stare out to sea, feeling one with the loons, while some deafening siren falls on your anonymous ear. Stick your head underwater while life races by, 'cause futility strikes every time you ask why. But you can't help believing you got stuff the world needs to hear. So I'm here in the sun, getting splashed by the tide, on a spot on the harbor where folks fought and died. They probably felt something deep, or they tried. But me, I just figure I'm here, another tourist on the pier.
Olivia, we are so fortunate to have you with us this morning. Thank you so much for being here, for both services too. It's a long day. Thank you. It's okay, yeah. Well, I mean, you're obviously you're very talented. I mean, singer, musician, songwriter, poet. I mean, you have so much to give, and we thank you for doing so with us this morning.
Thanks for having a house for it.
Yes, anytime. Right? Anytime? Yes. So I'm going to, I have no segue from that, honestly, that beautiful music to my sermon today, so I'm just going to launch right in with a question for you that I think I know the answer to. Have you ever asked yourself, where is morality? That's an awkwardly phrased question, right? So you probably have not asked that question. You may have asked, what is morality? But not where, because it's a concept, not a substance that we can point to or put our hands on. Yet when we speak of morality, we often speak as if it is real and that we know exactly what it is. As a student of philosophy, I continue to ponder a lot about morality and ethics and have come to believe that it doesn't exist. And this doesn't mean that there aren't cultural, social, and individual moral values and opinions, some of which are better than others, or that we should not behave morally towards other people, animals, and our planet. What I mean is that there is no universal guide hovering about somewhere in the ether by which to measure the difference between right and wrong. There's no religion, holy book, philosophical belief, legislation, or social conventions that can assure us that our behavior is right by any universal standard. Unlike the physical laws that we have reason to believe work everywhere in the universe, there is no universal standard determining the difference between right and wrong. And in fact, over long periods of history, we often come to conclude that the very thing that our ancestors considered was the wrong thing to do is now the right thing to do, or vice versa. Yet some of us, a lot of us, maybe some of us here, think that there is such a universal standard and delight in using it to tell others what they should and shouldn't do. And often what they should and shouldn't believe, say, or even what they should or shouldn't feel. The high priest, the papal authority, the medieval belief in the divine right of kings are a few extreme examples of the authoritarian righteousness that such thinking can lead to, but there are also ordinary people in our everyday lives who are so sure of their moral opinions that they assume that they have the right to tell others what to do, and who dislike and even demonize those persons or groups that won't listen. Now, listening in these cases is a euphemism, meaning they won't obey. None of us want to say, I made a suggestion and they wouldn't obey me. Right? We don't tell our kids, obey me. We say, you better listen. Sounds better. But the sense of moral authority that justifies telling others what to or not to do, with the expectation that they ought to obey, can be grounded in one's personal religious beliefs, values instilled by one's parents or passed on through the culture, and other social laws, mores, and expectations. But most essentially, this moral sense is rooted lazily in one's feelings. One has an emotional response to an environmental situation in which others are involved, causing one to feel mildly or seriously threatened, and then decides on the spot what will make that individual feel safe. And whatever that thing is, coincidentally, is what the person will consider is the moral thing for others to do. Isn't that interesting? The thing that makes us feel comfortable happens to be the moral thing for others to do. Now, this opinion is based on a relatively new field of evolutionary psychology, a branch of psychology that tries to explain human psychology based on how certain kinds of thinking and behavior have helped and help our species to survive and reproduce. One example is evolutionary threat assessment systems theory, ETAS for short, considers how the emotion of fear helped and helps our species survive. Why did we develop fear? Because fear helps us survive. How? So hence, as cognitive therapist Phil Gilbert says, the most important question faced every day by all animals, including humans, is whether their immediate environment is safe or not. Every new situation. And it's not usually a conscious thought, but it's an instinctive sense and experience. And it presents itself initially, for example, as harmlessly as a feeling of awkwardness or shyness around people that we don't know. Right? Oftentimes, when we have visitors to the church for the first time, they'll kind of sit in the back near the door, right? That's a part of that instinct, just in case this is an uncomfortable situation. I can get out easier without as many people seeing me, but I know, because I can see. So it's why we must, as we often say, we have this saying, we have to warm up to others, or we have to warm up to the idea, or we have to warm up to the situation. Essentially we're saying we have to become familiar with it, right? But such fear makes us cautious and conservative about venturing too far or too quickly into new or unknown territories, which isn't a bad survival instinct, especially for our ancestors in the past. If we apply this instinct to the question of morality, the question of morality being how does the concept of morality help our species survive and thrive, right? How does it benefit us in evolutionary terms? We can easily conclude that it codifies safe behaviors that have proven to protect us from danger and protect us from putting others in danger. Morality codifies behaviors that help us survive long enough to procreate and evolve. So instructing our kids to look both ways while crossing the street is a rule that keeps them safe. Thou shalt not kill is a rule that keeps us safe, or hopefully others safe from us, both as individuals and as society. And thou shalt not steal is another example that keeps the stuff we need safe. So we can see how developing a sense of morality that makes human behavior predictable has aided in our evolutionary process. Our species also has a large brain with more folds in it and a larger frontal cortex than any other animal. And this has given us great advantage and made us the most dominant species in Earth history. However, this advantage requires that our species must continue gestating outside the womb in order to get through the birth canal. Otherwise, our brains would have to remain small. As biologist Stephen Jay Gould once said, it is clear that a human baby is still an embryo. Right? Our bones have not fully hardened, our skulls have not fully closed, and unlike any other ape, our brains are only a quarter of their eventual size, and they can continue to develop throughout our entire lives. Our big brain advantage was an evolutionary trade for a weaker and more vulnerable body than other apes have. We have an ape body, but not powerful apish strength or powerful jaws and protruding teeth to protect ourselves. We don't have the arm strength to easily climb trees for protection or to toss ourselves from limb to limb without most likely soon falling to our deaths. Other apes are born with immediate strength to cling to their mothers, and within 2 months, they're moving about and playing on their own. Human infants are born with limbs that will remain almost useless for months, and they won't learn to walk for nearly a year or more, and even afterward will remain incredibly dependent upon the protection of caregivers for years to come. From an evolutionary perspective, we must wonder how such a weak and vulnerable species could ever have survived, let alone become dominant. How could a mother who is herself in danger from predation from other species spend so much of her own energy and years caring for a child or children, some children at the same time? Why would a father put himself at risk of predation by routinely going out into the world to find food and resources to bring back to others, to a mate and to offspring? The answer is that evolution isn't about survival of the individual, it is about survival of the species. It's not about the individual organism, but the information inside the individual organism that needs to get passed on through the ages. That's the selfish gene that Richard Dawkins talks about. So we have evolved feelings that motivate us to care for others for these genetic purposes, particularly our offspring, to provide and protect them, even at our own expense. But our need for the protection, care, and cooperation of others continues throughout our entire lives. So today, most everything that we have, our food, our clothing, our shelter, safety, roads, technology, and so on, depend upon others who live all over the world. Hence, this emotional bond is often most powerfully felt for those who are related to us, but it is also felt for others, including to varying degrees people we don't even know. Right? We're all concerned and grieving and worried about all the people suffering unnecessarily from the violence in the world today, even though we don't know them. And we'll never meet them. But there's something that moves us towards feelings of concern and compassion and care, right? For people we don't even know. All of this is to say that our survival as a species depends upon our innate need to care for others and to be cared for by others. That's how we survived. To be cared for by others. And that's how others survive, to be cared for by us. That's how evolution enabled us to transcend the frailties of our bodies. And this is where our sense of morality comes in, at least according to evolutionary psychologist Robert Wright. In his book, The Moral Animal, Wright says, the closest thing to a generic Darwinian view of how moral codes arise is this. People tend to pass the sorts of moral judgments that help move their genes into the next generation. We are just pawns of our genetic information. Doesn't it make you feel good? So in short, we are social animals because we need to depend upon others for our survival, and because our genes need to survive, they have evolved to program us to treat each other with care. Our genes have programmed us to treat each other with care. And it is such care that is the basis of our morality, that which I refer to often as the humanistic ethic. Right? It's our morality, it's in the human genes, and therefore it is a humanistic ethic. Social psychologist Erich Fromm, who also describes our species as a social animal, says that love is our greatest human power. But he doesn't define love as a sentiment. In fact, if you study most lists of the primary emotions and even secondary emotions, love isn't even listed as an emotion. Because it's not. It's a behavior. But Fromm says the most fundamental kind of love, which underlies all types of love, is brotherly love. By this I mean the sense of responsibility, care, respect, knowledge of any other human being, the wish to further that person's life. Going on to explain that brotherly love is love for all human beings, characterized by its very lack of exclusiveness. All human beings. The ones we know, the ones we don't know. Fromm also ingeniously, in my opinion, solves the problem of morality, meaning again its lack of a universal standard. How can we know epistemologically what morality is if there's no such thing? He solves this problem by saying we only have to consider it from our human perspective. We can know what's right for us. And this isn't to say that it's anthropocentric, because a fully developed human being means having compassion and empathy for all creatures. Right? We haven't fully unfolded if we don't have that empathy and that compassion. We need to care for other creatures. What he means rather is that human beings need each other and thus must take responsibility and care for others, respect them, and to seek to understand them. This is why in Man for Himself, an inquiry into the psychology of ethics, Fromm says materially, ethics is based on the principle that what is good for humanity, and evil is what is detrimental to humanity. And this is why he most profoundly says the sole criterion of ethical value is human welfare, and that the unfolding and growth of every person must be the aim of all social and political activities. Everything we do should be for these purposes of promoting the general human welfare and individual unfolding, individual actualization. To summarize so far then, I've made three main points. Firstly, morality has no independent existence or universal standard. Right? There is no measuring device. We often act like we know what right and wrong is, and we're measuring it by something. That thing that we measure it by doesn't exist in the universe. Secondly, as social animals, we depend upon each other. Our innate sense of what is good is therefore rooted in our need to care for and being cared for by others and caring for others, which is the basis of what we mean by morality. That's what it means from a humanistic perspective, or a human perspective. To be moral is to care and be cared for by others. It's why when we harm each other, or when we harm others, we feel ashamed, or we should feel ashamed. And it's why when we are harmed by others, we feel moral outrage, or when we see others harming others, we feel moral outrage. It's innate in us. Thirdly, our humanist morality is expressed most fully as responsibility, care, respect, and the knowledge of others, the seeking to understand others. And respect, by the way, means to give someone a second look, to respect, to re-see, right? Because when we look at people initially, we see maybe where they're from, we see what color they are, we see what gender they are, maybe we know what their sexuality is, what their religious belief is, what their political beliefs is, and we have it all. Right? What's the little chart, the intersectionality chart, that's going around where, you put the people that are in the worst identity categories opposite those that are in the best identity categories, and it becomes like this magic compass by which to look at people and understand all you need to know about them. That's disrespectful. If you have that chart, you can tear it up and throw it away. Those things don't work. People are far more complicated and multifaceted and multidimensional and amazing than that. All right, where was I? Oh. See if I have to. Yeah, anyway. So anyway, this is really the humanist moral, of course, is these things that Fromm said, right? Responsibility, care, respect, and knowledge of others, which have to be the goal of everything that we do, as individuals and as a society. Now, if only this were so. Today, again, we're in the midst of two brutal wars going on in the world in which this humanistic standard is not being followed, or hardly being followed. There are people pressing the issue, which is holding perhaps some of the worst offenses, the worst crimes against humanity at bay. But it's not a good situation. Here in the U.S. also, we are so divided, right? We've been increasingly being divided, but now we are so divided that even our political leaders who are in the same party can no longer get along. And by the way, this isn't just in congressional inability to elect a House Speaker. Remember what happened in the early years of Biden's administration when he was being blocked by Democrats, right? People of his own party. So, a couple of them. So by the moral standards relative to us humans, right? I mean these things are being caused because people are not respecting one another's differences. They're not giving one another a second look. Where are you coming from? So anyway, we're falling short, to say the least, of this moral standard that I'm arguing is genetically inherent within us. So why? Why do we too often reserve responsibility and care for those closest to us, to our own families or to our own groups, our own people, but not everyone else? Or better put, why can't we see that all people are like us? That we are all part of one human family? So this stems firstly from the principle of kin selection. Again, it's something we're born with. It's genetic, in which our instinct to care mostly for those who are most genetically similar to us, especially our offspring, followed by our own siblings, then our cousins, then our friends, until our concentric circles of relationships are so distant that they become meaningless to us, that we don't recognize those relationships anymore. But the other reason is because our simplest understanding of morality is expressed as fairness. One of the first moral complaints a child learns to make is saying that something isn't fair. It isn't fair. And fairness at an early age means being treated the same as everyone else, or at least thinking we should be treated the same as everyone else. So I once read of a child whose older brother, who had already finished his dinner and dessert, got a second piece of chocolate cake. And the younger brother, who had not yet even finished dinner, began insisting that he should also have 2 pieces of cake. His mother told him that he must finish his dinner and first piece of cake before any talk of a second. But it isn't fair, he cried, and before long his moral outrage turned into a tantrum. His mother, in a moment of frustration, took her butter knife and whop, sliced his piece of cake in 2. There! Now you have 2 pieces. And to her surprise, the younger boy was perfectly appeased and began resuming his meal. See, the problem with this simplistic understanding of fairness, whether we are children who can be forgiven or adults who should know better, is that it miscalculates what morality means. When the younger boy's single piece of cake had been cut in 2, he felt justice had been served, but his brother still had twice as much cake. As Erich Fromm once complained, equality today means sameness rather than oneness. Equality today means sameness rather than oneness. Today, our largely punitive response to crime, for example, is a more serious issue. Somebody commits a crime and must make restitution by going to jail or prison for a certain amount of time. But how does time compensate for the damage or loss resulting from crime? In this system, the victims of crime are not made whole, and the criminals are often made worse. It's like having that boy's piece of cake cut in 2 and believing that justice has been served, that fair is fair, when nothing meaningful has really been accomplished. Another example of the problem with equating morality with fairness is that it often leads to an eye for an eye justice, or response to justice. Granted that an eye for an eye is a great advance over a head for an eye, or a hand for a stolen loaf of bread, or a life locked into a criminal justice system for a single misdeed. The eye for an eye principle at least tries to make the punishment fit the crime. But because it is still a fair is fair mentality, it confuses what justice really means. As Gandhi said, an eye for an eye only makes the whole world blind. When I was studying restorative justice, an alternative to punitive justice, I heard about a kid who immediately became the most bully student at his new school. His worst tormentor of them all had previously been its most bullied student. How, we might wonder, can someone who knows what it's like to be bullied do the same thing to somebody else? But as a child, with an immature understanding of morality, this makes perfect sense. The child was only making the world fair again. He had been bullied. Therefore, it was only fair that he should bully someone else to bring the world back into a state of fairness. But this attitude doesn't exist merely among children, sadly. Only 2 weeks ago, I heard an Israeli official talking about Israel's response to those horrific attacks by Hamas. She said that Israel's response would be swift and must be harsh knowing many innocent people will be injured or killed in the process. She said there would be no warning. There would be no warning, justifying this admission by saying they didn't give us any warning. Fair is fair. Unfortunately, Hamas and the innocent people suffering the consequences are not the same they. Not any more than the new kid was the person responsible for bullying his tormentor. Yet he was the one who would be punished for it, and his bully would feel like justice had been served. It's not unlike the U.S. going to war with Iraq after terrorists attacked the World Trade Center and other American targets, even though Iraq had nothing to do with those terrible events. I remember, when millions of people around the country were demonstrating every week trying to prevent this so-called preemptive strike from even taking place. I guess I must have been in the news or something. But anyway, someone left a message on the answering machine, an angry person. Where were you when they bombed the World Trade Center? They referring to Iraq. Iraq had nothing to do with it. But most Americans didn't care, so long as someone was paying for the crime. Fair is fair. We got bullied, now we need to bully. Doesn't matter who. We'll right the wrongs of the world. It's like cutting one piece of cake into two. Nothing really changed. Developmental psychology has long taught us that a punitive mindset is one of the primary qualities defining the earliest stages of moral development. Lawrence Kohlberg wrote, "The young child is not oriented to the bad as being selfish, being deceitful, etc. He is rather oriented to the bad as being punished." Punitive mindset. James Fowler says, stage 1 development looks to the consequences of an act and to the probable degree of punishment it would entail. Punitive mindset. And child psychologist Jean Piaget said, in the domain of retributive justice, every punishment is accepted as a perfectly legitimate, as necessary, and even as constituting the essence of morality. Punishment constituting the essence of morality. Punitive mindset. And this is what we're really talking about. Our retributive understanding of morality and justice is rooted in an immature mindset. How we're dealing with criminal justice today in our society is rooted in an immature mindset. We know this. The punitive, authoritarian, black and white, fair is fair understanding is the lens through which we are dealing with crime and terrorism these days, and lots of other things, including recently how many on the left believe that this is what will bring about social justice in our world. Right? We'll take the money away from the millionaires and billionaires and distribute it to the poor and take the privilege away from those we deem are somehow more privileged than others based on their identities. And that's going to make the world more just. Yet cutting the cake in two rather than keeping it whole, sameness rather than oneness, mistakes justice for everyone having the same, which migrates easily into everyone looking the same, acting the same, speaking the same, and thinking the same. It's been tried. And where it's been tried, it's manifested in some of the worst humanitarian systems, anti-human systems in history. And this is really the mindset that considers Robin Hood a heroic figure, because he balances the scales by robbing from the rich and giving to the poor. And children in particular love the story of Robin Hood. It fits with that concept of fairness. Disney made a classic animated movie about this bandit and his band of merry forest creatures. Today in the real world, there are many who believe that the solution to our economic woes is leveling the playing field by redistributing wealth, forcibly redistributing wealth, taking it from the richest people and giving it to the poorest. Fair is fair after all. They don't recall again that this has already happened in countries and it has failed. But psychology also tells us that when we're operating and thinking like small children, we are fixated. That's a term that means that we're stuck at an early stage of development. We haven't fully unfolded. We haven't reached our full potential. We haven't even become fully human, it can be argued, when we're fixated, because we're stuck. Our growth has been retarded. Our maturation stunted. It also informs us that the earmark of mature morality is care and respect for all people, no matter who they are, where they are from, what they believe, how much or how little they have. This again is the core of the humanistic ethic. Love for all human beings, as Fromm said, characterized by its very lack of exclusiveness. It's about bringing people to justice. I should say, it isn't about bringing people to justice. It's about bringing justice to people. It's not about retribution, but reparation and restoration, making things whole again. Not cutting the cake in half, but making things whole again. It's not about punishing someone for the damage done as much as it is about fixing the damage that has been done. It's about making sure human welfare is the sole criterion of our ethical value, and that the unfolding and growth of every person, every individual, is the aim of all of our social and political activities. This is how a mature person, a mature society, a mature world operates. And what a wonderful world that would be. As a religion, based upon this mature understanding of morality, this humanistic ethic, which we call the inherent worth and dignity of every person, we must lead by example. Make sure that everything we do demonstrates our love for all human beings. I'm not talking about sentiments. A lot of people I don't like, I can tell you that. But I don't want them to be harmed, and I certainly don't want to harm them. In fact, I want them to fully unfold. That's what it means to love your enemies, to want them to fully unfold, to be all that they can be, all that they can become. And we do that by demonstrating care, responsibility, respect, and understanding towards others, and working for a world in which human need is met and every individual has the opportunities necessary to achieve their full potential. Anything else is just icing on half a piece of cake. Thank you.
Please stand. Join me for our last hymn, What Wondrous Love, number 18.